story and the DEI story hits so hard because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
Well, that was fucking racist. I mean, there's just no way around it. I mean, holy crap. That was Charlie Kirk and his weird incel friends, Jack Posobiec and others, being really racist about black pilots. And this is who they are. I love that our former guest, Michael Harriot, had this to say on Twitter. We'll put that screenshot up for you right now. 99.999% of planes land safely. He's fine. But if Charlie wasn't a racist dirtbag formed from the volcanic ash of white mediocrity, he'd know that whites make up 94% of all airline pilots, but are responsible for 98.2% of human air aviation accidents. I will not be taking questions. You got to love Michael Harriot. If you haven't seen that show, go back and see it. You know, as I reeled from that clip, I caught this on Tuesday night after the New Hampshire primary, and it's a lot cringe considering Charlie Kirk is a voice of the Republican Party that you can find a million pictures of him and Donald Trump palling around. And then you go to the victory party after Trump wins the New Hampshire primary. Check this out.
Which is hard. I mean, did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's good. That's why he's a great politician. That's why he's a great politician. So this is a great evening.
Oh, boy, that was uncomfortable to watch. The guy that Tim, he just loves Trump. He actually turned the governor that appointed him for this opportunity to stand behind Donald Trump and smile and get on a microphone and tell him he loves him. You know, last week we watched Trump wish for an economic crash this year. And then this week in New Hampshire came this newest classic from the guy that Tim just loves. Check this out.
They're coming into our country, and a lot of terrorists are coming in. This is really bad. I heard somebody yesterday say 100% happened to be Sean Hannity. Did you ever hear of Sean Hannity? He said 100% certain that there'll be some horrible acts, terror acts. And that's the answer. It's 100%. It's 100%. The people coming into our country, it's 100% certain. And we have to have fair elections. Thank you for that.
The northern border is a huge deal here. We talk all the time about equal pass.
Yeah. 100% chance of a terrorist strike this year, according to Sean Hannity. That's who Trump is getting his national security statistics from, Sean Hannity. And as I saw that, well, I just had to have the perfect cast to talk about that. I mean, you can't have anybody better to talk about Fox News than an expert in Fox News. So, whew, you guys, it's going to be a hell of a show. So let's get on with it. Oh, man. Welcome back to On to Moxie, the FP Wellman. I am Fred Wellman, your host. I still was 5 minutes ago before music, but here we are now. Man, woo, what another fascinating week. By the way, fascinating week again. Fun fact, if you remember how I started the show last week, I was saying how much I love all you viewers and supporters because we broke like 500,000 views, and that was an incredible number. It's our most ever. You turned around and we hit 727,000 views this week. So I don't know what you're doing. If it's the same people like clicking over and over, I'm fine with that, but thank you. But what an incredible... It's so humbling. I was just telling our guest that's coming up how weird it is to have people watching now. I can't cuss as much, although I do. But I'm so thrilled to have you here. It's been another fascinating week in the nation. New Hampshire's behind us. Trump swore he was going to get 95% of the vote. He didn't, but, you know, it's a victory. Ron DeSantis, of course, dropped out this week after one of the most incompetent political campaigns in American presidential history. Of course, he seems unaware of that. And Biden is Biden won the New Hampshire primary without even being on the ballot, technically. So it's been an interesting week. But with Trump as all but the official nominee once again, as I mentioned before the music, I thought I'd bring in the perfect time to kind of turn our attention to the media arm of the Republican Party, Fox News. And you can see it already how they're lining up their support where there was some wavering for a while there. So luckily, I found a St. Louis connection. We've got Juliet Jeske joining us, who is from St. Louis. You can believe that or not. Welcome to the show, Juliet.
Oh, thanks for I haven't lived there for a long time, but I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Midwest girl in New York. Juliet, of course, is a journalist, producer of the Decoding Fox News newsletter and podcast, graduate of the Craig J. Newmark School of Journalism, as she's wearing her t-shirt, at the Central University of New York, a place I love. Been studying the right-wing media environment for many years, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But I kind of want to go, we started the show before we came in there. We had that clip of Donald Trump basically crediting Sean Hannity for saying there's going to be a 100% chance of a terrorist attack in the next year. Of course, this is after he thought the economy would collapse and everything else. It's just interesting to me that, he's citing Sean Hannity as a source for these kind of things. I mean, should Hannity be listed as a presidential advisor at this point? I mean, you've talked about before this weird relation between Hannity and Trump. I mean, I couldn't think of a better example to bring the show in than that. Tell me more about that.
Well, from what I've read and from what I've seen, it's a very unhealthy relationship. Sean Hannity acts as if he's some type of advisor to the former president. And of course, he's not, and nobody voted for him. And Hannity also has, apparently, there was some friction there as well, because it's a lot of pressure to have somebody like Donald J. Trump call you up all the time and pester you and annoy you. But Hannity can't help. He just loves the amount of tension he gets from it, and he loves the sense of power. Yeah. I'm assuming. I can't read his mind, but that's what I'm basing it on. So it's very unhealthy. And during January 6th, of course, as we know, it was revealed in the January 6th committee hearings that Hannity was trying to contact Trump, telling him to, call off the rioters. So Hannity was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? As well as Ingram and some other Fox News hosts. But Hannity was there. I mean, they cited his text messages and emails like in the evidence for the January 6th committee. I mean, because that's how nuts this is. That's how it's not media. It's an arm of the Trump campaign. And it's going to be even more so, right? He's locked up he's locked up the nomination now, so they're all going to line up, right? And are you seeing that already in the last, because there was some wavering. I think I've seen you speak before that, they did dance with I think Laura Ingraham had DeSantis on a few times, and they kind of did the dance. But what are you seeing as far as that path at this point? I think they're completely all in. Okay. They were definitely wavering. There's definitely been a lot of back and forth with Trump, Steve Ducey especially. Yeah, you'd be surprised by him. He's been very much like, I don't know. I always say Steve Ducey goes rogue. I have a category in my podcast about that because he does it so often, where he just goes, I think he's kind of crazy, and then his co-hosts are like, Yeah, you can see the look on their face. Yeah, Brian Kilmeade's like ready to stab him, and Kilmeade's just like do. Mm-hmm. But because Ducey's made a number of statements like that. But yeah, I mean. Ingram used to have DeSantis on quite a bit, and she'd just rave about, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so amazing. And they were trying, because I think they kind of knew there's a lot of problems with Trump, but now they're 100% all in. It's just straight up worshiping and just, he's amazing. And they say he can't win the general, but he can. We know he can. And I'm just like, Yeah. And Kayleigh McEnany got herself in trouble last night. It seemed like she was a little bit honest on the panel. She said that, hey, these numbers aren't actually that great. She was pretty honest about that. And she got swacked for it, didn't she? Yeah. And it's interesting because she wasn't the only one. Brett Hume made a comment. He goes, if you treat him like an incumbent, these numbers are bad. He said that at the very beginning, but I guess because he's Brett Hume, it was at the very, very beginning of the the New Hampshire election night special. They have like a 2-hour, it started at 10 p.m. And right at the very beginning, Brett Hume made a comment like that. And I guess because he's an old white man, nobody cares. But Kayleigh McEnany says it, and she used to work for Trump. Right. Then suddenly she says something similar, and suddenly that's a huge, huge problem. I think also because she used to work for Trump, there's like a weird bitterness with her too, and because she's a woman and a younger woman. Yeah. But Brett Hume said it. He said it straight out. I was shocked. I was like, wow, because Brett Hume he's made a number of statements. Like he doesn't really have a filter anymore. He's in that stage of his life. You know, quickly.
That's true. You're not wrong.
I'll be there.
Some would argue. Some would argue I already am, Juliet.
You know what I'm saying? But Hume just
Present
doesn't
company
care.
accepted.
He just says stuff, and I'm like, what the? 'Cause he made a couple quips during Iowa too that were like, ouch, and like because he's just like this old man, nobody cares. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but Trump's not threatened by old men. Trump is threatened by women.
Not.
You know, I mean,
no, he can't. Yeah, he would say. I mean, he said to a number of women, like, you only have your job because of what you look like, and he's made comments like that before. So I'm sure he feels that way about Kayleigh because she's a pretty blonde woman, but Kayleigh's had a few moments that I was shocked where she said the truth. She was talking about abortion during the off-year election, and she was very candid about like this is going to be a problem, you know. And her co-hosts were like, well, we can just bend the rules and say that 15 weeks is okay. And she's like a true believer, in terms of anti-choice. So she was like, oh no, we need to care about women and stuff. And it was like kind of shocking. Yeah. There was another time Kayleigh McEnany was shockingly honest, was the cocaine, when they found cocaine in the White House. She was one of them that kept saying, there's no way the press could have done it. There's no way there's no cameras over there. And I saved that clip and I kept playing it over and over again as other Fox hosts who hadn't worked at the White House, who didn't know the White House, kept making all these grand claims about what ended up being this tiny, it was like that
ridiculous
big
thing,
of cocaine that they were like, oh my God. And Kayleigh McEnany was like, yeah, they would have found it immediately. It was in a part where there's no cameras. And Kayleigh McEnany spoke the truth. And I was shocked. I was like, wow. Some integrity.
Yeah, she tries to play journalist and all, but she gets swept. I mean, this morning, though, she was right back. I mean, they had a guest on. I didn't catch his name because they're all just generic to me. I'm not going to lie to you. But he was saying how Trump is old, too, that Trump is aging. Trump is showing the signs. And she rolled in hot to defend him. I mean, she must have gotten the message, right? It was kind of funny because I saw people on my Twitter feed going, oh, does she know he beat her last night? I was like, yeah, she does know. That's why she's trying to.
She knows.
She's trying to get back in the good graces.
He's come at her before, too.
Yeah.
He's made nasty comments about her before.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he's like really, it's ironic because he's really big on loyalty, but he's not loyal to anybody himself. He'll throw anybody under the bus, as we've seen.
Yeah, and he will.
That's the irony with that man.
Well, and it's always, of course, he always hires the best people, but he attacks those same people because they're terrible,
they're all incompetent idiots when he decides they're no longer useful to him.
That's it. I want to circle back to that first clip I ran, which really wasn't Fox News, but it does go to the whole thematic, and that was Charlie Clerk's conversation on his show of the DEI, that whole idea that a black pilot. So that's definitely become we're seeing that as a thematic, and there's a larger issue for me that it seems like they had these. I call them hate topic waves at Fox, in my opinion. And you study it, so that's why I ask. They had these hate, and they had a whole wave of LGBTQ, transgender hate. And then Christopher Rufo changed his mind. He's on DEI now, and they're on that bandwagon of racism. And you've been watching for a couple of years now. Is there a narrative? Are they following these narrative arcs? Are they riding the wave, surfing the wave, or creating the wave? I mean, I guess
I think it's a little of everything.
Okay.
I think they pick up on what's on far right media, like the fringe right media, like the Breitbart, the kind of crazy like Reddit type channels. They'll find people just complaining about stuff. Yeah. Kind of the extremes. They go there, and then that also influences them. And then Fox itself influences that like sphere of media. It's this kind of loop. Yeah. And it was CRT, which is, critical race theory, which is nonsense. They acted like kindergartners were learning critical race theory when it's really a collegiate, it's like an academic situation that you would learn in like, your sophomore year of undergrad. Right. But they were acting like it was something that they were forcing down 6-year-olds' brains when it wasn't. Yep. So CRT kind of got old and they got bored with it because I think it was really no way to prove it. Like, what are you talking about? And then DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, sort of became the new thing. They tried to make ESG a thing. Yep. I remember when that happened. That was like last year. Yep. And that's about investing. Right. And it's like environment, governments, and can't remember the exact
sustainability.
Yeah. Sustainability and governance. And it was sort of like, are these, companies doing right by humanity, sort of? And I think that just completely bored their audience. So they dropped that very quickly. I remember when they tried to push it, like even the hosts were like, what is this? ESG is bad. You're like talking to these.
It's too esoteric. Yeah.
These people don't invest
I
in
ain't
stocks,
putting my
they don't
money in
care.
them ESGs.
Yeah. So DEI became the thing. And I'd seen this building because for months, they kept saying, well, with these diversity hires one of these days, they're going to hire a pilot. He's not going to know how to fly. And I'm like, do you have any idea where they get pilots from? Like, they don't just go, hey, you.
Yeah.
Like, and so that was, and they tried to say that the Alaska Airlines accident, which actually was not a pilot error at all. It had to do with the actual building. Somebody had made a mistake either in the design or in the manufacturing of a plane.
Yep.
And it was Boeing, which Boeing has a terrible track record. I think they're on 12 years with 12 problems, something like that.
Yeah.
So they have a problem almost every year with something. So Boeing, bad track record, and it was a mechanical problem. And they immediately jumped to, this must be DEI. And I had fun with that in one of my newsletters. And then I brought back the Pinto because I'm like, remember when white men ruled the universe in the 1970s? Well, guess what? They used to make cars they knew were going to blow up and they didn't care because they figured they'd save more money paying people off after the cars blew up than fixing the problem. This is not new. This has been going on forever. You can't tie that accident to DEI. The funniest clip I had was of Ingram literally going like, you could pay for DEI with your life. And I remember she literally said it like that. She goes, with your life. And then I'm watching it on my end going, come on.
Very dramatic. How do you do this? I don't know how you do this, Julie. I don't know how you do.
She's like Disney. I call her the Disney villainess who has no glamour because it's kind of who she is with her constant tweaking of her face. Like every few weeks she comes back and I'm like, she looks younger again. How is she doing that? And then she's like, everything just looks perfect and her lips are a little bit fuller and a little bit crooked. And then she's like, hello, I'm Laura Ingram. And I'm like, wow, you are significantly older than me, but you can't tell because anyway, but she's got like the,
I'm letting you carry this conversation part because if I say anything as a white male,
I can get away with
you can do stuff I can't get away with, sister.
Well, it's kind of like as a woman, I can get away with saying
exactly.
I don't care. A woman can get as much plastic surgery as they want. I don't care.
Right. Power to you, sister.
It's just when, like last week, this one was very, very funny. They were talking about Madonna for somebody suing Madonna over a concert.
Yes, because she was late.
And yeah, she was late. It happens. And everybody at the table on the five was like, oh, she's old and she's had too much plastic surgery, which I'm like, that has nothing to do with the lawsuit. And then it came to Judge Janine of all people. And she said, she should age gracefully. And I'm like, you're 72 years old. You look like you're 50. Come on. You've had I don't care. Have more plastic surgery. I don't care. Don't criticize somebody else for doing it. Like I haven't done anything because I couldn't afford it. But I don't have a budget. No, I don't know if I would anyway. But it just I don't care. I don't care. It's just Judge Janine Pirro with a head of dark brown hair. And, no lines and the skin that's like completely taut. Criticizing another woman for having plastic surgery was a bit much. I was like, lady.
Well, this brings me to my next question, which is the one, how the hell do you do this? I mean, how on earth did you find yourself watching Fox News for a living? I know there's a story there.
It is a weird job. I started off years ago. Before I was a journalist, I was just sort of... I had like 3 different jobs, but I had I was like a weird artist in New York, and I sort of stumbled on the Proud Boys before anybody knew who they were besides the fringe, the kind of the press that was dedicated to extremism. Yeah. So there was people like HuffPo and Salon and the Southern Poverty Law Center who knew who the Proud Boys were, but that was about it. Yeah. And nobody was taking it seriously. And I started capturing their episodes because it was like, this group is dangerous and they need to be stopped. And I ended up watching all 407 episodes. I have them on a hard drive. I've gone through all of them, cut them up. And I found out then I decided to go to grad school after doing that for a couple of years. And then I found out when I was in grad school that it's considered a skill if you can watch really horrible media. Yeah. And I would laugh every time. You know, I'd go, yeah, I've watched like probably a couple thousand hours worth of extremist media. And they'd go, oh, and I'm like, what? And they're like, that's incredible. And I'm like, is it? And they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know.
It is.
So you build up a tolerance. And with Fox, which isn't nearly as bad as the Proud Boys craziness, because I was watching the Gavin McInnes show, which is, he's the founder of the Proud Boys. Yeah. He's the one that put the group together. So I'm watching him say the N-word every other word and just horrible, horrible things coming out of his mouth. And that was so much worse than Fox. Fox is like frustrating, but it's actually quite easier. And I think the key is to develop a sense of humor about them. Like I make fun of them like crazy. And so it helps me. I just have a dark sense of humor. And I grew up I went to Eureka High School.
That's where my kids go to school.
It was very different when I went there. It was very different. Now it's kind of posh because the suburbs have kind of gotten to the point that they've gotten so far west in St. Louis that now it's like a little bit nicer. When I went there, it was very not posh. And I was just surrounded by Republicans my whole life. So I was just sort of used to being I graduated many years ago, but I in my classes, I had there was maybe 3 other liberals, and my parents were union members. So I didn't really have a choice. I was going to be a Democrat whether I wanted to or not, but I'm kidding. But my parents were hardcore union members. So it was always
that's when we were in Auto Town.
Yeah. Well, my dad he's actually an auto mechanic, but he worked for the gas company. I know. My mom was a teacher. So that's why they were both union, and they were very, very proud union. And, it was just funny because I'd be in classes and there'd be 3 of us surrounded by a bunch of people Reagan's awesome. How dare you, you loser? And that kind of thing. And I'm like, yay. So that was my existence.
I was in Kirkwood then, so I feel you.
Yeah. So you just get used to it. You just sort of get used to the whole
I was going to the military, so what did I know?
But thank you for your service. Though.
Oh well, thank you.
I could never. That's something I could never do.
I got to St. Louis. But here we are. So well, you know what? This is a great place. Let's take a break for a minute, and we got some incredible sponsors week. Our friends at Human and Roan, and then we'll come right back. If you're like me, you understand the pain of finding out what to wear each day. I mean, most clothes I have are uncomfortable, never actually the size I really am, and not to mention how much time is wasted trying to find a good outfit. And when you do have a good fit, you can only wear it for a few hours. We have to change for an important meeting or dinner and find a new outfit. Now, everyone wants to dress well at all times because simply put, it's a confidence booster, even for men like me. Men's closets were due for a radical overhaul and reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Roan's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. Roan helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You've never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Roan commuter collection. With Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can just ditch it all in the dry cleaner or ditch the dry cleaner completely, put it all in your own washing machine yourself. I'm obsessed with the Roan commuter collection. We're on the move a lot, whether it's I'm catching a flight or I'm going to a meeting or whatever. The Roan commuter collection has never let me down so far. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to head to roan.com/Fred. Use promo code Fred to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/Fred and use code Fred. It's time for you to find your corner office of comfort. Check out our sponsor, Roan. I hope you'll buy some outfits today. Heart health and staying healthy, especially when you have family, friends, or loved ones that you want to be able to spend as much time with as possible, is so important. February is Heart Health Month in the United States, and more than half the population would still benefit from blood pressure support. Super Beats Heart Chews, the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended way to support healthy blood pressure, and they even promote heart healthy energy without the stimulants. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in Super Beats are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And with over 40,000 5-star reviews and counting, people are raving about Super Beats Heart Chews. Super Beats Heart Chews are absolutely delicious and are truly much better than any alternative supplements out there. I take my Super Beats Heart Chews each morning, and it's really helped me kickstart my day. And after taking my Super Beats Heart Chews, I feel like I have more energy and I'm ready to take on the day. Super Beets Heart Chews support healthy circulation. So you not only get blood pressure support, you also get productive, heart-healthy energy without the crash. So support your heart health with Super Beets Heart Chews. Get a free monthly supply of Super Beets Heart Chews on all bundles and a free full-size bag of turmeric chews valued at $25 with your order by going to our spot, demoxybeats.com. Get this exclusive offer only at demoxybeats.com. That's demoxybeats.com. Check it out. I swear by them. You know, something I bang on a lot, Juliet, is I call it the performative politics pipeline. And the performative politics pipeline is a member of Congress says something stupidly outrageous or shitty on during a hearing, and then they're guaranteed a slot several hours later in Hannity or Ingram. I mean,
yeah.
Do you see that pipeline? Am I making that up, or is that like a real thing?
That's totally what. Well, again, that one it goes both ways.
Okay.
Somebody will say something outrageous on Fox.
Yep.
And then within 24 hours, 48 hours, a congressperson or a senator is saying the exact same thing, sometimes verbatim, on Twitter or X, whatever I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, me too.
So you see that. And then you also see people who seem to, their entire career is just getting slots on Fox.
Yeah.
That's like they live to just be on Fox News. There's some people I wonder, James Comer, I wonder how he gets anything else done, because he was the most frequent guest of the shows that I watched last year. It was just James Comer, like constantly. Although he did get mad at Steve Ducey again.
Yeah,
Steve Ducey
he's mad now. He's going to OAN now. He's rebelling. He
won't go on Fox and Friends anymore. But like he's on there a lot. One that Matt Gaetz is probably the best example of somebody who says, well, and even then, okay, so Matt Gaetz, they during the midterms they got mad at the Matt Gaetz, the Bo Burt types, and they would complain about them, but then they would put them on air. They'd be like, well, we can't have these people who are so extreme in our party, and that's bad, but we're going to talk to Lauren Boebert for 9 minutes. Like, what are you doing? You know, and I keep track of how long everybody's on there. So Matt Gaetz was a great example when he helped kick McCarthy off the speakership. They were all freaking out, and then they kept having him on. And Matt Gaetz, while he was on camera, it's like, and you can send your money to mattgaetz.com. He didn't even care. There's no line. And I'm going, you're creating your own beast. You don't even care. Like, you can't complain about these extremists in your party, which you can't give it lip service and then give these people all this airtime. It's like, what? I don't even. So,
well, it is. I ran a race against John Kennedy in Louisiana, and he was on every night. It's just just as a comedy. His whole thing is this. And if you know Kennedy from from his past, he doesn't talk like that. Kennedy,
I know.
The whole Kennedy thing is a persona. And he goes on there with those ridiculous, I can't even come up with anything because they're so ridiculous.
I got he is crazy.
Oh my God. He's crazy as a cowpoon alligator getting his tail bit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
He basically writes down jokes, thinks about how he's going to say them. And then he's another one that's like, he will just, you give him a microphone and he's like, just knock people over to get to the microphone.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, you see, even though I went to Oxford in England, and I'm a very intelligent person, I'm going to act like I don't barely know what I'm saying. And it's like,
it's so ridiculous.
He's a clown. He's just like,
and they eat that shit up. They eat it up.
Yeah, they eat it. And then I made fun of her for this when Tulsi Gabbard, it was a couple years ago when she finally got they actually gave her like a chair on the 5.
Yeah.
I totally made fun of her, and it was like dreams realized, because it was sort of like this thing we saw over time of her kind of going from the Democratic Party to like just full on Republican.
Yeah.
Although she's I guess undecided or independent right now, but she's like, they have her on the 5 and they'll put her in the liberal chair, and she'll just she'll actually be to the right of the other people on the panel. She's like, we need a wall. We need it now, or whatever. She'll just say things that are outrageous. And I'm like, what? We need to ban trans people. And I'm like, what? She'll just say, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what she said, but she trashes trans people on a regular basis.
All the time.
And they have her like as a liberal. And I'm like, sure.
And she's a serving United States Army Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserve as we speak.
Yes, she still is. This is true.
It's shocking to me every time I watch her on that news network, and I'm shocked by the United States Army's failure to control or failure to act.
Because normally they don't let you do that. You can't really. I mean, when you're active duty, you're not supposed to be talking about.
Well, that's what she does. That's how she's clever. If she puts the uniform, she's careful, but she still does it. She's with a reservist. She's technically only when she's in the uniform, and that really is. Yeah, and it's. It's bad. We'll leave it at that. The last year, the chairs have moved around a little bit on that Titanic, which is not the Titanic, I guess. It's still barreling along. And one of the biggest ones, of course, is Tucker Carlson, who's moved over to X, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if you follow him anymore. It seems like, he was extreme before. I've heard you talk about that. But now,
worst one.
And now he's got such, his guest this week was Cat Turd. He flew him to the studio. This fat, chonky guy from Florida whose fame is he's Cat Turd on Twitter was a serious guest on Tucker Carlson. As you've watched it for a couple of years, is that arc shocking to you, or is it surprising at this point, or what's your take on the defenestration of Tucker Carlson?
His chapter is not his
not closed yet.
Story is not finished yet because he's still technically, I believe it ends this month. I don't know the exact date, but he's still technically under contract with Fox. But basically what happened is that's why he went on Twitter, because that was the only thing he could do. He couldn't go on other platforms because they could sue him. So he was still technically under Fox News' thumb a little bit. And so he found a workaround by going on Twitter, because Twitter didn't have long videos when he signed his contract with Fox.
Right.
Twitter wasn't owned by Elon Musk. So when he signed his last contract with Fox, so when he got fired, he still had about a year left on his contract, or he'd walk away from $25 million, something like that. Yeah. So he figured out, I'll just go on Twitter, which was bizarre. And everybody was like, yeah, that's a bad idea, because he's going to watch a 4-hour, because he does these super long videos on Twitter. But I knew he was going to go. I called him. I predicted that he would be Alex Jones 2.0, which he has totally become. Yeah. But we'll see. Now, once he gets out 100% from the legalities, the legal obligations he had with Fox News, who knows? He might try to do something online. He might try to do something subscriber based, like Alex Jones or something. It's hard to know, but it has been fun to watch his demise, because he was incredibly influential when he was on Fox. He got McCarthy to give him footage from January 6th. Right. He was affecting legislation in some ways. In Brian Stetler's book, he basically flat out said he probably prevented a bombing at one point. Trump may have bombed, I believe it was Syria. Yeah. And he decided not to, because Tucker Carlson was saying, don't do it. Or Iran, something like that. But it was just going, that's how influential he was at one point. And now he's interviewing Cat Turd. And I made fun of Cat Turd because Cat Turd is 7 million views, which everybody knows the views on fake, Twitter are we don't know what that means. And I laughed and said, dude, I got 6.6 million on a Fox clip, a clip. I got... it's not what you think it is. It's not that 7 million people sat there and watched your whole interview. That's not how Twitter works. But the numbers are all inflated, so we don't really know. But Tucker's lost his mind. And he's all bitter and angry too now. And he wants to, some of his recent tweets have been very alarming. Just, burn it all down. And I'm ugh. Because in my humble opinion, he's always been a white supremacist. And that's gotten worse. Now that he doesn't,
and we heard them say that. You talked about the Proud Boys earlier. They've said that there was an arc, and I've had other guests talk about that. And I've been very fortunate to have some really interesting, people who study right wing politics, and they talk about how it goes from the Proud Boys to Alex Jones to OAN to Newsmax to Fox, and Tucker they looked for it to get to Tucker, right? And then when Tucker got it, there's victory. We've injected our ideas in the mainstream, and now he's not. Now the next person, of course, and Jesse Waters tried to take up the mantle. Is Jesse Waters? Has he? A lot of people were nervous they would just be 2.0, but I don't think Jesse really is Tucker 2.0. Is he? He's not as influential.
He's not.
And he's stupid.
He's dumb.
He's dumb, right?
That's
it.
He's bright. He's kind of the number one comment I get on him whenever I post anything about him is that he's dumb. People make fun of him, and he doesn't quite understand what he's talking about, and that's clear. Yeah. So he can't Tucker. I always said this, Tucker was good at what he did. And that's why he was scary, because he was very, very good at what he did. He knew how to manipulate his audience.
Yeah.
He knew how to heighten something. Tucker could do a 25-minute monologue, with no break and keep his audience and just straight through this big, long stream of consciousness. And when I would analyze him, it would be like 4 minutes, cut, 1 minute, cut, 2 minutes, cut. His monologues were perfectly timed for television. It was frightening. Like he would move to a topic and then it would be like not 1 minute and 1 second. It was 1 minute. I mean, that's Tucker, because this is a man who's done this his entire freaking career.
Yeah.
He's very good at this. And Jesse Waters is like a bad copy of him, where he's just like, I'm going to say something outrageous. And then I'm going to do the Waters cooler section at the end of my show where I just say, you know what? I like lamb. I like to eat lamb meat. Good. You should try. He does this thing at the end called like Waters cooler. And he literally has said stuff like, I like to eat lamb. And I'm like, and then he did a section where he said I have a collection. I have a collection, a file called Dumb, Jesse Waters Dumb, where he's like, I don't like to say self-checkout because, it's hard. I can't, that's a lot of work. I don't get that. And then he's openly admitted, like, I'm not very bright. I'm like, at least you know. At least you know.
Yeah, self-awareness.
At least
it's
half
a hell of a
the
tool.
key, dude.
Well, that is super freaking creepy. I mean, you're the one who caught.
Oh, creepy.
I realize you're the one that caught the intern story, the letting the air out of the interns, which is. Did she become his wife, or am I making that part up? I mean.
Okay. This is what happened.
Tell me.
It was Easter week. I had a hard drive meltdown, completely break.
Okay.
And so I was very distracted that week, and I had captured that. And weirdly, because it was Easter week, like none of the other accounts that capture Fox noticed that comment, which is, I still don't know how that happened.
Staggering.
And I posted it almost a week later because I was like very distracted. I thought, should I even post this? Kind of gossipy. I'm going to post it. Yeah. And then it blew up. It was the first thing I did that went viral. At the time, I had like 2,000 followers. It was like,
yep.
It blew up, and basically in the clip he was joking.
I got air quotes, and for those listening,
because it was like, is he joking? He never said he was joking.
No,
that he was married at the time with 2 kids, which he left that out, but everybody knew it. And he had this. She was like a producer, which is a very low level position at Fox. And he claimed joked that he let the air out of her tires. So she'd be like, I need a ride home. And then he swooped in and drove her home. And then he said, works like a charm. And even as his co-hosts were like, what's wrong with you? He was laughing and he said, but we're married now, so it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. You're disgusting. And he was like 14 years older than her, which not that big of a deal, but with all of the rest combined of like, he was her superior at work. He was married with 2 little kids. Yeah, all of it was just so gross. And so, that's his second wife. I call her wife number 2, wife number 3 any day now. You never know. A guy like that's probably not going to stop at 2. Yeah. Probably might have, Geraldo had 5. It's whatever. Don't moralize to people if you keep getting married, but I do whatever you want.
But it's a thing over there, I think. I swear
it is a thing over there. There is a pattern with multiple, like Pete Hegseth is on wife number 3 and he's like 42 or something.
Also a producer, right? I mean,
he cheated on wife number 2 with wife number 3 who worked for him, I believe. Yeah. And now he's with wife, and they have like a bazillion kids because it's like combined marriage. And I'm like, whatever, dude. But
I've known Pete for years because he was a veterans advocate when he first started. He had CVA, which I didn't like, and he's in the 100. We were in the 101st Airborne together, so we actually served. I didn't know him then, but that's another one.
Man. He's got some issues.
He does
with the women. He knows it. He's at least said he has some self-awareness. They asked him at one point, and he's like, I never want to get married again. And I'm like, well, that's good. You probably shouldn't, because
we agree.
You should probably commit to this marriage, buddy.
How good of you.
Commit. You got a lot of kids to feed. You should probably commit to this one. Do your best, because you've had a lot of divorces for somebody your age. Like
there's that.
I'm divorced. I'm not judging divorced people at all. But like when you've had 3 and you're 40, it's like, wow, that's a lot.
With no breaks. I mean, they pick up the next one, and they keep trading younger. It's just...
I know people who do that. They overlap their relationships, and I'm like, yeah, it's nuts. That's just. Yikes. Like they can't be single for any length of time. And I'm like the complete opposite, that I'm like lone wolf.
There you are. It's good to be an adult. Now, on that note, there's a lone wolf there, you know, on the 5. Let's go to the 5. You know, which is this still like one of the most popular shows on there?
It is. It's like number 1.
And we've done clips. Jessica Tarlov fighting the good battle. She's, you know, the left loves her. I mean, she's
the hero.
Yeah. Is she enough to, is Jessica's voice enough to break through I mean, is it a hopeless battle on that network to break through? Will reality, I guess that's a larger question too. We can do 2 parts. Jessica, I just want to, you know, cheer her on for a moment, but also the next part, of course, is at what point does abject reality break through? So let's do Jessica on the 5 first.
I think she's absolutely brilliant. And I think the thing that she does I've watched her also get better at it. Since I've started.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've seen that too.
She used to be a little bit more meek, and she was always very nice. So she gets along with them very well, which is that I could not do. I've joked all the time. I'd last one day and they'd fire me because they'd go, "Shut up," to Jesse Waters. I'd be like, "Could you just shut your mouth? Could you just stop talking, you pompous eyebrow person?" Like, the eyebrows and hair. Like I would probably just snap at him, and they'd be like,
And Greg Gutfield. I mean, it's
both of them.
It's a competition for smarmy jerks, you know. So
and they would be like, "We got to get rid of Jeske." But anyway, I think Tarlov has gotten much, much better at asserting herself and getting out her points of view. And she's very organized, and she'll just be like, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
She'll get her points out very clearly. And she has very good control to deal with them when they start yelling at her. I think if somebody's watching Fox all the time, I kind of think they're lost a little bit. I don't know if you can get them back. Yeah. My goal is to get the people around them from not getting sucked in and to sort of understanding these people better, because if you're going to pull somebody out of that, the best way to do it, and that's a whole other episode, but like from what I've read and talked to psychologists about, and I'm going to start working with a man that I interviewed about his book. He wants to do like a regular series where we break down the psychology of some of these clips.
Yeah.
Because he's like a psychology expert. He's a professor. But to get somebody kind of deprogrammed or de-radicalized, you almost have to be incredible. It's very difficult because you have to be very, very laid back and be like, "Oh, that's cool. So you really believe that? Yeah. Really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. How do you believe that? Why would you think that?" You just have to be super chill with them, and they won't listen to facts. They won't listen to logic. But if you kind of make them realize that everything they're saying is nonsense a little bit, that it's kind of hinging on nothing, that can break them free. Or if you can get them to realize that they're just hateful all the time, they're angry all the time. Like if you get them to realize like watching Fox is making you madder, is making you more paranoid, is making you more upset. It's not making you happier. If you can get them to see that can kind of get them to break free a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get them by going, Trump's lying, because they won't see that. That helps people like us who aren't sucked in. And it helps people who might be sort of like a fringe, like not fringe, somebody who's like
on the edge,
swing, somebody who's like a swing type voter, somebody who's like on the fence with Trump, which I can't imagine being that person, but that person exists. And that if you show like Trump's lying, you can help keep somebody like that from going full Trump. But if they're full Trump, it's much, much harder to get them out. And like Tarlov won't do that, but Tarlov is good in that she's the only person on that show who really offers a decent counter voice on the whole network that I've seen.
Yeah.
Juan Williams will have his moments, but he's usually not on the shows that I cover.
Yeah.
He's more on the legit.
The hard news stores.
Yeah.
Which aren't watched. So probably the last thing I'll ask you then, Trump's almost pretty much officially the nominee. Let's not even pretend otherwise. And all the usual suspects in the Republican Party are getting in line. And it looks like, as we said at the top of the conversation, that Fox News is. So what do you expect from Fox? I mean, you've braced yourself for a couple of years now. What are we going to see in these next few months and weeks as he locks it up, and it's even less reality, I suppose?
It's going to go full campaign Trump 2024. They're not going to even. They're going to go full in. For the midterms, they were already doing that. They would show campaign ads. They would have people on and just praise them.
Yeah.
My favorite was Sean Hannity would do town halls, again in quotes, where it'd just be one person. And he'd just be like, "You're amazing. Let's talk about how amazing you are." And like Sean Hannity, the way he does his interviews too, is he sort of encapsulates the entire network in terms of Trump. Because when he interviews Trump, he'll be like, you had this policy, which was amazing. I can't really do his voice, but it'll be like, you have this policy, which was amazing, and it totally worked. And let me explain it to you. This is what you did, and this is how you did it. Talk about it. You know, it's just like, I went through one of his interviews of Trump once, and Hannity had questions that were 2 minutes long. Jesus. Of just like, the question was 2 minutes. Like, you're like, what? You know, like, he would just completely set him up and then like praise him, and it like totally completely help him throughout. He did the same thing when he had Newsom debate DeSantis. He was helping DeSantis throughout the whole thing. Just desperate, like throwing him bones like crazy. And you really mean this, don't you? Oh, there you go. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, what? And that's what unfortunately Fox is going to do, because there's nobody who can beat him, and they desperately want a Republican to win. And it's a very strange relationship, because, you know, the network paid out, $878.5 million in a defamation suit. They're facing another one with Smartmatic, which could be even worse. Yeah. And they just double, triple down. They just can't. It's like this weird, terrible relationship that they can't quit, because they know if they quit, they're going to lose their audience. So they can't. Yeah. And so even if the executives are like, this guy's nuts, and, you know, now it's Lakeland Murdoch, not Rupert. But even if, you know, the Murdoch family is like, this guy's nuts, they can't quit. So they're going to double down, triple down. And it's going to be, I keep joking already in my podcast, it's going to get a lot harder to watch this stupid network, because it's going to be like, I can't, because they're just going to lie. And like, Trump's amazing. Look at how everybody loves Trump. And I'm like, no.
As he's being carted off to jail finally. So
and as he has cognitive decline. His whole Nikki Haley and January 6th. He said Nikki Haley like 4 times.
For a minute. It went on for a minute. No, it wasn't. It wasn't just one. He went on for a whole minute, you know.
I know. And like he meant Nancy Pelosi, but like, and then they brushed that off. It's like, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah. But Biden did this, Biden did that. And I'm like, wow.
Did you see Harrison Faulkner correcting Sununu the other day? Sununu said, well, he's almost 80. No, he's 77. He's like, okay. Even he was like, we can do math later, but 77 or 78 is almost 80. You know, it was just like, oh, and then he said something negative. She goes, oh, we don't say negative things. It's like coaching a guest to dare offend dear leader, because she was scared of the backlash if she allowed it to happen. I mean, you can see it. Yeah. It's so effing North Korean sometimes. It's scary. It is. And again, going back, we started the hour and I'll let you go. It is the Kayleigh McEnany arc, okay, where Kayleigh gently chided him or said something, got her ass handed to her via Truth Social, whatever. Next morning, he's virile and young and strong. How dare you say such a thing? It's there is a feedback loop that they are listening to, and again, I think it goes to. Do you think it's like? And I said I was going to be done, but I'm not. Sorry, Matt.
Okay.
I think a lot about Republicans, that we hear Republicans are afraid of their voters. They're afraid of the MAGA. I mean, do you think that's in a lot of ways what it is, isn't it? In many ways, Fox is afraid of their own audience in certain sense. Would you say?
I think we saw evidence of that in the legal briefs that got released during the Dominion lawsuit. They flat out said they were scared of them. Like they were terrified that they were going to go to One American News Network or Newsmax or something online. You know, they were terrified they were going to lose their viewers, and they can't do that. They cannot. They need to make the money. They need to be number one in the ratings, no matter what. And if that means they're going to push a story they know isn't true, which that's what the Dominion legal briefs showed, and it also showed that, weirdly enough, Tucker Carlson didn't like Trump, which I kind of suspected that the whole time. I saw glimmers of that the whole time, that Tucker wasn't at least a huge fan of Trump, called him a demonic force and such. But you saw that Fox was just desperate to hold on to their market share and their audience. And they said, we got to make the audience happy, literally using phrases like that. So yeah, they're scared of them. It's very strange, because if you had, I just said this last week, if you had Ansley went on a monologue where she basically just praised, just glowing praise of Trump, and, the country's on the brink if we don't get Trump back, yada, yada, yada. And I thought, if somebody said that on the Today Show about Biden, they'd be fired. They'd be fired immediately. I mean, the
right would lose their minds. And the right would lose their minds.
They'd show it on a clip and they'd be like, look at this, look at this. But they do it all the time. They do it. Yeah. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. So it's just like, they have these rules, and it's like dealing with a narcissist. Fox News, you're never going to be right. They're always a victim. They're always, it's just like the gaslight constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was married to a narcissist, so I don't care. I'll say that. Maybe that's why I'm.
There's a lot coming out on this show, folks.
I'm very open about my divorce. I've written about it, so I don't care.
We're good. Could tell you were a comedian today. Well, with that, Julie, I think I will let you go. So tell people where they can find you, and we'll put it up on screen for those who are viewing. Where do they find Decoding Fox?
I'm on Decoding Fox News at Substacks, and I am crowdsourced. So my funding comes from subscribers and subscribers only. So that's one way you could help support the project. I'm also on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, all for Decoding Fox News. And then on YouTube and Facebook, it's my name, Juliet Jeske, because those accounts were made a long time before Decoding Fox News ever existed. So that's it. That's where you can find me all over the place.
Find her, folks. Pay for her Substack. That's you guys support good journalism. It's worth it, I assure you. And man, I really appreciate your time today, Joe. I know you've been busy with the New Hampshire primaries this week.
Yeah, I'll be going right back to work.
All right, get on it. Back to work. Get some sleep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good talking to you. That was a lot more fun than I expected. That was a great time, and I'm glad Juliet was able to have some fun too and talk about a serious topic, but have a good talk about it. One of my goals of this show is not to just be a talking head. I don't want to be part of the anger system, if you will, right? The get you angry and then click and make you click more. I want you to get in the fight with us. I want you to call your local campaign and volunteer. I want you to phone bank for a campaign or a cause you believe in and you love. We need you to run for office. I need you to love and fight for this democracy. And I was prepping for the show. I found this amazing clip on TikTok of I want to forgive my name if I screwed up, Sophia Angala, who created a unique tool to fight a ridiculous fascist-like move by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin a couple of years ago. And she did a little TED Talk about this. And, watch this clip.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin created a tip line to report critical race theory being taught in schools. I had a problem with that. So I wanted there to be an easy, fun, community-oriented way to get this tip line taken down as soon as possible. I coded a tool that allowed people to send song lyrics and lines from the Bee Movie to the tip line. Essentially, it takes the name of a real school, a real city in Virginia, and spits out a very ridiculous report. For example, I have reason to believe Thomas Jefferson High School is teaching race. I overheard a teacher saying, shoddy hat than apple-bottom jeans. It's silly, it's goofy, it's just as unserious as the creation of a teacher reporting tip line itself, which is exactly what draws people to this kind of action. Democracy is just more fun and inviting when you take it into your own hands. After I finished the website, I sent it to my friends at Gen Z for Change. We all posted videos. Thousands of emails were sent from every state in the country and virtually every continent. And we had emails bouncing within 48 hours. Months later, the tip line was quietly officially shut down. Didn't even last a year. Because of the skills of a few, the platforms of many, and the will of hundreds of thousands of meddling kids, unified in our intolerance of injustice, we were far more powerful than a couple people in official positions of power. The stability of democracy internationally requires that we use whatever skills and resources we have to combat hate, bring movements to life, and stand united in solidarity with one another on every corner of the globe. Justice can't wait. So take what's in front of you, get really creative, and cause a ruckus.
Isn't that amazing? And what I love what she says, the meddling kids getting involved. She saw something that was anti-democratic and ridiculous, and she used her skills to do some coding and figure out how to build a website to make it go away, and it worked. And then that's what I love. That's democracy. That's our democracy, at least. Our crazy constitutional republic democracy where anybody with skills can get involved with the right way. And so I leave you with that last one. I don't usually do so many clips in a show, but I just found her talk so fascinating and so inspiring and so funny. The ability of Gen Z especially to meddle with things, those darn kids. And so I leave you with that, to be inspired to participate in the democracy. Because look, you guys know, you hear me, we're winning. And Biden showed it again this week. Trump is struggling. But look, it's not going to happen if we don't make it happen. We can't sit back. We cannot assume anything right now. The forces of the anti-democracy movement are so strong that the only way we can fight is to fight and to step up. Wars aren't won by polls. Okay, you actually have to fight. So I'm imploring you to do. And I love you watching the show, and I love you sharing the show. I love you seeing comments, and I really do appreciate it. Sometimes it gets crazy. I think we had 3,000 or 4,000 comments this week. It's crazy. Get involved. You can do it. We can win this fight, but we're going to have to do it not sitting in our chairs at our desks. We're going to have to get in the fight. So with that, you can always find me, as always, at FP Wellman. I'm still on X. You can find us, find this show if you want to get it early on the On Democracy podcast on YouTube. I'd love you to subscribe. Getting a ton of views there now. And of course, as always, we're here every week, Friday night on the Midas Touch Network. Thank you for being a part of the fight. Thank you for your incredible support. Find us on Substack, wherever you can. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you next week.